So I'm really excited today because I am sitting across from Veronica from Innovative Produce. And I've known Veronica for now more than 6 years or more or so, right? Mm-hmm. And it's been exciting knowing you and your involvement with UnitedAg. And you've been very impactful in bringing about some of the changes that we've made to UnitedAg, because the way I think about UnitedAg, I always say, it is not just me at the top or the employees at UnitedAg. It's all of us, including all our members and everybody else. We're together building this, right? And you've been a big part of that. So welcome to the show. Excited. And as we get started, can you introduce yourself and we'll get started?
Sure. Hi, Kirti. Thank you for having me. My name is Veronica. I work with Innovative Produce. We are a grower and farm labor contractor out of Santa Maria, California, so on the Central Coast. I joined their team in 2014 and have been involved with the Human Resources Department, Safety Department, and most recently, Food Safety.
Nice. So it's expanding.
Yes. So
that's now it's almost 11 years at Innovative.
Yep. It'll be 11 years in April. Nice. So time flies.
So what's your story? What got you to Innovative and who is Veronica?
So I am from the Central Valley. So I grew up in Firebaugh, California, which is a very small town about maybe 40 minutes west of Fresno. So it's an ag community. And I was just really involved with like my high school's ag department. And it was just, I had a lot of active involvement in that. And I just always just enjoyed the ag industry. My parents worked in the ag industry. They're immigrants from Mexico. And so my ag department actually at my high school took me to Cal Poly. I think it was my senior year of high school. And so they took us for a tour and we did the fall preview. And I just really enjoyed visiting the campus and I thought it was just a really beautiful area. So I ended up going to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo after I graduated high school. And so that's how I landed on the Central Coast. And so I majored in wine and viticulture.
Ah,
and
I didn't
so,
know that.
Yeah. And it was a really, really great major. It's grown a lot since then. And I made some really, really good friends just by being in the major. And I see them like family. And I intended on staying in the wine industry, maybe in sales and hospitality. But I ended up pivoting somehow and ended up at Innovative in 2014.
So this was right after your degree, after your college? Yeah.
Yeah. So I worked for a winery and tasting room in San Luis Obispo for about a year or so after I graduated. And then it was a really great place to be. And I actually met Debbie's daughter, Nicole. We were coworkers, and it was funny. We later discovered too that we were in the same ag communications class while we were at Cal Poly.
Oh, really?
But we didn't know each other then.
Yeah.
And so we worked together at a winery. She was really, really great to work with. And she would always talk about her family's farm. And I thought she was really modest in how she described it. And she just always had really, really good things to say, but she would often say, she'd talk about it. And it sounded like a great place. And then one day she told me that the HR person at her family's company was leaving. And if I was interested, I could shoot her mom an email with my resume. And at that point I was looking, having graduated Cal Poly, and honestly, like student loans came up because I got them to be able to go. And so I was looking for full-time work. And looking back, I feel bad saying this now, but I think like I just saw the interview as practice because I wanted to stay in the wine industry. And so I was like, oh, well, it wouldn't hurt to interview. I really didn't think anything would come of it at all.
Yeah.
And I had a really good friend from college that was just constantly interviewing at places, and she was just doing so well and seemed very confident. And for me, just just having to interview seemed so scary. Just like this, an interview with you seems pretty scary. And anyway, I ended up meeting Debbie and the director of HR and safety at the time. His name is Salvador. And I think we just had a really good meeting and we kind of hit it off, I think. They called me that same day and offered me the position, and I didn't expect that at all. And then I felt like I had a really hard choice to make, because I knew it meant not that I wouldn't be in the wine industry anymore. But it's actually funny because I didn't even know what human resources was actually, what it really meant. I knew what it meant in a general sense, but I Googled it before as I was preparing for the interview. And now I'm just, I've been in the trenches and know what it means now, but it's just looking back, I didn't understand really what it was going to involve. And it's really been a great experience so far. And we've had some hard times, but I wouldn't trade it for anything, actually.
That's an awesome story. So you went to school for something, got in this, and you actually fell in love with what you do, right?
Yeah.
Because it's reflected in the way you conduct yourself. I've seen you reflect in the way of how you take care of the people at your at Innovative. So, and I know how Debbie Adams talks about it. So Debbie Adams is the co-owner of Innovative Produce and kind of, I think, handles basically the administrative and everything else side of the things,
so
right?
She retired, and so she has taken a step back. So she's not as involved with the day-to-day operations, but I worked very closely with Debbie for many, many years. And so most recently, her son, Phil, has become my new supervisor, and he's also really great to work with. But yeah, she was the CFO. So she was really, the leader over on the administrative side of the business, which included the finance and accounting department, as well as HR and safety.
So your journey started from a small town near Fresno, and then you kind of going to school, and now where you are. What are your life lessons? What have you learned so far about this industry?
I think that's a really great question. I think that people, are the most valuable asset. And I think, though, Innovative has always valued all of the people that are part of the organization. And I have felt very valued. And, we were talking earlier before the interview, and it's you treat people the way you want to be treated.
Right.
And even though that's something that's really basic, it seems very basic, not everyone does. But I think that people are a valuable asset.
When you really think about this industry, right, and what I find is unique compared to others is the people side of things. Because you think of a lot of people right now, my friends and stuff are talking about this, and they say, oh, we want to retire. And I'm like, well, what is the reason behind it? And they say, I'm just done with the corporate world, right? So when people say that, I don't relate to that, because this is not a corporate industry. This is, like I was saying earlier, this is a family kind of thing, right? I mean, you work for a family-owned business, but overall, ag is so different. It is, even today, in today's world, things happen with a handshake. Things happen because I know you as a friend. So it's a very different thing than when people say corporate, and that I can't even relate to that. So
yeah, no, I agree. And I feel like Innovative is just the complete opposite of that. It's a very small, I think we're a medium-sized company. We're, I think, at a pretty sweet spot. We're not too big and we're not too small. And yeah, I couldn't imagine what it would be like if I was in a corporate position. I'm sure it'd be very different, but I've never experienced anything like that. Innovative is actually all I really know. It was my first adult job, I guess.
Yeah.
And because I started working there pretty soon after I graduated college, and I've never left. I've stayed at Innovative, and we've had some challenges over the years, and I did over the years wonder if it was right for me, if I should, move on to something different. But I think I really stopped to think about why I loved being there. But also, to be quite honest, it's very scary to leave and try something new. But Innovative is just very family oriented. Like, you are treated, I think, as an individual. You're respected, you're supported, and you don't get lost like with all of the other employees. At least that's how I feel.
Yep.
I have felt treated that way. And I really try my best to make sure that I treat people that way too. Like, it's funny. I think I have a pretty good memory, but I remember really obscure things sometimes, and sometimes things that don't seem as important. But I always make it a point to remember people's names and the employees
that's a very good skill,
at our company. And I remember, and I always did it just because I like to get to know like who is working at our company. But I remember this one employee came once, and I remember his name still. I remember who he was. And he came in for his check, and we were just chatting for a little bit. And I don't know why he said it or like what came of it, but he said, I like this company because this company remembers people's names. And he was a harvester in our cauliflower crew. And it really took me aback. I thought that's not why I do it. And I'm not the only one that knows people's names. Everyone does.
Right.
At several levels of our company. But I just thought it was very moving for me. And it's funny, I was helping cover our front desk a few weeks ago, and 2 employees from our hoeing and thinning crew came to pick up their checks. And I knew one of them. And then the other one I was trying to guess. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, I can't remember. And she was just like, it's okay. And she told me her name. And I just was like, well, and now I remember her name, right? But it's I think it's the effort, and people see that, but it's truly because we want to treat people as individuals at our company, and they're just not a body. I don't really like it when people say, oh, we need more bodies, and we shouldn't talk that way.
Correct.
Because everyone does something important for our company, and we need our employees to keep moving forward. And I would think that maybe in a huge corporation, people kind of get lost. And I feel like
you just become a number, right? You become a number. But that's interesting what you just said about names and remembering people's names. So we just had a huge conference, and quite a few people showed up, and over the years, a lot of new people coming in. But I also make it a point to remember the names. I don't have an amazing memory like you, but I have my tricks that I use. But the reason I do that is because I feel like when you remember and you connect the names and you know a little bit about that person, it just forms a very strong connection with that person. And for me, the more than important, I feel, is that connection that you form with people. And so that's so true with employees. So if an employee feels connected to the company, right, that's a very different way of looking at work than somebody's like, oh, I'm just a number, right? So that's an awesome skill you have.
Yeah, no, and I think we try to stay engaged with our employees as much as we can. And I think it's at all levels. And, there's also sometimes only so much you can do, but I think you just have to really kind of think about your outlook on things. And I guess that's just the way I see things. Yes, we all have to work, right? To move forward, to raise our families. But at the same time, while you're doing that, why can't you try to have a positive work environment, And I remember years back when I first started at Innovative, we had a lot of just there was a huge labor shortage, and we had pretty high turnover on the harvest side. And I remember hearing sometimes people would say, oh, well, people are just going to follow the money. And maybe that is true, obviously, in a sense, people have to do what's best for them You have to recognize that. But then at the same time, it's like two things can be true, like maybe people like
It's not
obviously,
always the
yeah,
money that,
exactly.
yeah,
But like you
agreed.
could still make it like a positive work
Right.
environment,
Agreed.
and I know that's something that Innovative takes pride in.
Yeah.
We really do love working with UnitedAg. It's been a really great relationship. And I think that working with Debbie very closely, she has always, always valued the health insurance, the benefits that we offer our employees because, we want them to be healthy. We want them to be able to take care of their families. And you can't do that if, you're not getting yourself taken care of and you're not going to the doctor. And I feel like this has always been a big part of my job ever since I started. In fact, I think my second week
you came into an event.
Yeah. So my second week at Innovative, we had open enrollment. So I met UnitedAg my second week.
Yeah. And I think wasn't that same year you came into something, an event or a conference, if I remember.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Debbie has always done a great job at inviting me and other people that work with us to take part in like the conferences and the roundtables and the forums that you would host regionally.
Yeah.
And it's just been a great experience. And we just really try to do our best to disseminate the information that comes our way and try to figure out like maybe what the barriers are in accessing care, whether it's, using Teledoc or Spring Health or just going in person to the local health and wellness center. But you guys have been really great to work with. And I think you guys are just very accessible, and we've always been with UnitedAg pretty much since I started. And so again, like I feel spoiled in a way, if I'm honest, because this is kind of all I know. Even working at Innovative, this is all I know. But I also know that not everyone is like this. And so I really just try to make the most of my experience and just try to share that information with everyone else.
Nice. So is it, Veronica, when you think of your life so far, any role models, any leaders that you can think of that have shaped the way you think?
Yes. So my mom, first and foremost, I think like she has always had a positive outlook on things. So she's my number one role model, and I care for my family, and I want to be a role model for my family, for my sisters and my brother and my nieces and nephews. I'm the first one that graduated a university from my family, from my immediate family. Then my sister followed. And so I take a lot of pride in that. And so my mom always also valued education, and she really encouraged and pushed me to get involved in things and move forward. And also, I think, respect those around me. And I think always taught me to have a positive mindset, like, and kind of acknowledge things that you can't really control, even though as much as they bother you, it's like maybe try to distance yourself from those things if it's not something that serves you. And so I try to operate that way. Sometimes it's hard, but I try to just focus on the positive and what's within my control. But that takes I think intention, and it's hard, but my mom for sure. And also I think at Innovative, Debbie, of course, and Loretta, who works together with us in our office. I feel like everyone at Innovative is very, very important. But for me, they've been the backbone of a lot of things. And looking back on my experience, I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for their support. And I think Debbie has her superpower is intuition. And
she does.
She's just, I think, just a very amazing person. And that's why I think I've stayed so long at Innovative, just working for her and George and Innovative, because they're just really, really good people. And I think really, really great role models. And you want to do good work for good people, and Debbie just has this intuition where she just kind of knows like something's up, whether it's positive or negative. And it's, you feel just very cared for because like, someone's checking in. And so since she's retired, I miss it a little bit, but, Loretta, we work pretty closely together. She's just a really, really great, just, team member. And, I think we're all like family there because we work really closely. But she offers just the best perspective, and she like kind of just knows when you need like the support and the encouragement, when you just kind of have to vent, I guess. But then she also like has this way of just helping you shift your perspective. And she doesn't just tell you what you want to hear. She like challenges you in a good way by challenging your perspective. And so I love that because that's the only way you grow, right? If you have people yesing you all the time, like you're not really going to get a different perspective. It's like Maribel says all the time. She's like, I want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. And she really means it, and so that's how UnitedAg is too. Like if you really want the true feedback about these programs, these initiatives that we're taking on, because if they're not worthwhile, then like why put more energy into that?
Right.
And so Loretta is great. And then also Amy Wolf, I work very closely with her, and she started to help us on the administrative side as Debbie and George started to transition out. Another role model for me is Amy Wolf, because we work pretty closely with her. She started working with our company through her organization called Mujeres Poderosas. And so as Debbie and George started to transition back, she came in to offer some support on the leadership side, specifically the administration, just so that we could navigate some of the challenges that come along with the transition. And she's just been, I think, instrumental in my growth. We talk about every 3 weeks. And so she's my mentor. And I think she's just so incredibly intelligent and smart. And
she is.
And she's just amazing. And so she's a really great role model for me too. And I think she helps give me direction. And she also just challenges me in the best way because she makes things hard. And it's funny because there are things that internally I'm like, I don't want to tell Amy because I know she's going to challenge me to do something about it. But it also, like, it always works out so well. So, I mean, I could just go off honestly on like the role models around me. I think there are so many. And I love the positivity and the connection. And I think we all like help each other.
Oh, cool. This is amazing. So you've grown a lot, right? Since you've come into the company and in the industry. And no matter what, I mean, if you decide to stay or you leave on, is you're going to carry all this through with you, because this is how we all grow and our experiences, and you reflect back. Correct. And what an amazing foundation to have right out of school, right? I mean, eventually, maybe even let's say you end up in a corporate job, let's say, but you're going to apply the principles, the value system, what you've learned from the ag industry, from working at Innovative Produce to anywhere you take, because now this is making you inherently who Veronica is going to be, right?
Correct.
Yeah. It's how cool is that?
I know. I feel so thankful every day. And I value all the opportunities to connect with different organizations such as AgSafe or UnitedAg, and all of the opportunities that we have to connect, whether it's the forums or the conferences or just through the ambassador program. It's just really great to connect with a group of just, I think, like-minded companies, because we all have like similar goals and, just mindsets as to how, each company does business. And we want to bring the best information to our employees because we want to continue to invest in them. And I just feel like we are able to learn a lot from each other. And I'm just always grateful for that opportunity to get to
interact with other people.
Yeah, with people like Tony and Hilda and Veronica, Luna and stuff. And, I think it's important to collaborate and network that way, even though I tend to shy away from things like this just because it's easier to stay in your own lane, but it's a good challenge to be part of the ambassador program. And I think Christina, when we were discussing whether or not to do these interviews too, like she really, I think, made me think about it. She just said to see it as a personal challenge, and I think in ag, we have to do a better job at telling our story. Like any industry, there are good and bad actors. And I think that many places in Santa Maria and in California, like they're just really, really good companies, and I'm lucky enough to interact with many of them at events like this. And so, I'm like, okay, well, we need to do a better job at telling our story. And if I can somehow do that through talking to Kirti, like I will,
why not?
because Innovative does a lot of good things for the employees and for our community.
Yep, that's so true. Very well said. And it forms a community when you have your ambassador program or the Women Ag program or UnitedAg, Ag Safe, and all these. You create your mini communities a little bit, so that becomes your support system. And I feel like you surround yourself with the like-minded people. So when you see the ambassador program and you relate to everybody else, it's because it's a like-minded group of people make for the right cause, learning from each other. So I'm glad you are involved with UnitedAg. And I'm glad you're part of the ambassador program because lots of changes have come about based on your feedback. And I know you work for an amazing company and a great culture. And Amy when you were talking about Amy, I was like nodding because I know Amy Wolf, and she's an amazing person and extremely intelligent and smart and showing you how to run your company. That's awesome to have her as a role model. So thank you so much for joining. Is there anything you want to add?
Nope. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks. This is awesome. Thank you.
Yes.